What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. This time we're taking a look at How the Grinch Stole Christmas, starring Jim Carrey and directed by Ron Howard. And can you believe this movie is officially 20 years old? I remember watching this movie in the theaters. I remember liking it then, and I still like it now. Of course, when you watch this movie now, if this movie did not have Jim Carrey in it, it wouldn't be half as good or half as memorable as it actually is. Jim Carrey as the title character of the Grinch, he steals the show. He is fantastic. You can tell this man is having a blast playing this character. Jim Carrey, his style of comedy was meant for the Grinch. His expressive plastic face was like has Grinch written all over it. His rubber band mannerisms, fantastic. You can't praise Jim Carrey enough for playing the Grinch because he like I said, he makes the movie, he steals the movie. All the most memorable scenes are with Jim Carrey. The scenes where the Grinch is by himself, just on screen, is wickedly entertaining, and Jim Carrey proves why he is one of my favorite comedians of all time. The Grinch is fantastic. Jim Carrey as the Grinch is fantastic. No complaints there. Now, how is this movie without Jim Carrey? It's decent. It's okay. It's nothing really all that spectacular, to be honest with you. From a production standpoint, this is a good-looking movie. Ron Howard really captured that, Dr. Seuss that Dr. Seuss feel and setting with the look of Whoville, which has this very otherworldly, which has a very just crazy look to it. But it works. He gave it a Christmas feel. He gave it a unique style and look, and I like it. This movie is mostly just practical, and the sets look fantastic. The makeup looks really good, done by Rick Baker, the legend. The look of the Grinch, straight out of the book. Everything else is done really well too. The story of this movie, the story is about how the Grinch stole Christmas, but there's more to it. In this movie, the Grinch develops a relationship with a little girl named Cindy Lou, who is our eyes, who is the audience pretty much, and she pretty much wants to integrate the Grinch into the Whoville community, since the Grinch does not like the Who's. And this movie gives backstory to that, since it was the Grinch who, as a kid, he wasn't all that bad, but it was about one fateful day at school where he was tortured by a bunch of kids. That's where he grew to hate Christmas. And I like it. I like that we get a little bit of an origin for the Grinch. We get to find out why he hates Christmas. I mean, it's nothing really all that bombastic. He was a kid. Kids made fun of him for having a beard. He shaved himself and he did a hack job, and he got pissed off because of it. But at the same time, he was also humiliated by one of the girls he had a crush on, named Martha Who was played by Christine Bernarski. Yeah, so that's the origin of the Grinch. It's fine. It is what it is. So yeah, that's all well and good. The rest of the cast in this movie is actually pretty good. You have Jeffrey Tambor, who plays the mayor. I think the mayor is one of my favorite characters. I like Jeffrey Tambor in this movie. He plays a good jerk. He plays a good stuck-up jerk, and he's actually the bully that started making fun of the Grinch first. So there's a bit of a rivalry between the Grinch and the mayor. And Tambor and Carrey do have some. Their comedic chemistry wasn't really tapped into as much in this movie, which is a shame, because they have potential. I mean, there are certain scenes where I was like, I want to see more with them. And I liked Tambor in this movie. He was great. Bill Irwin plays Lou Who, Cindy's dad. He's fine in the role too. He plays like a mailman. He doesn't really contribute much to the movie itself. It's mostly based on Cindy, who really develops a good, strong bond with the Grinch, and I actually like the relationship between Cindy and the Grinch. Ron Howard, he made it feel very real and very warm, and it's actually Cindy who slowly starts to pick away at his heart, though she doesn't do it all the way until you get to the end of the movie. And I like it because it feels earned. This movie is full of just like very memorable scenes. The scene where Grinch first meets Cindy in the mailroom is hilarious, but for me, it's when the Grinch goes to this cheer festival, which is utterly hilarious, and it's probably my favorite part of the movie, because once he starts to go on a rampage, it's utterly hysterical. And that just goes right into the whole of him stealing Christmas, which is great stuff too, and very, very funny. And that's where Jim Carrey really, really shines as the character. And his comedy really shines as the character as well. It's fantastic. It's great. So yeah, like overall, like I said, Jim Carrey makes this movie. Without Jim Carrey, this movie really isn't all that memorable, to be honest with you, because Jim Carrey really makes it memorable. If it was any other actor, this would just be a forgettable adaptation of a Dr. Seuss story. But Jim Carrey and his performance is what really makes it sticks out. That's not to say that's not to say the acting in this movie is bad, because it's not. It is backed by a really good supporting cast. But since this movie is based off a Dr. Seuss book, and there's not really all that much to the book itself, this movie does have a lot of padding to it when it comes to story and everything like that. And when Jim Carrey is not on the screen and it focuses on the other stories of this movie, it's not really remotely all that interesting per se. It's just kind of like, okay, you're just killing time till you get back to Jim Carrey on screen. So that way this movie can have its life back. So it's kind of a mixed bag. You know, like in one hand, Jim Carrey being in this movie is a great thing, but on the other hand, it's kind of a detriment, because without Jim Carrey, this movie kind of struggles to find its own balance. Like it relies too heavily on Jim Carrey, is what I'm trying to say. But, I mean, again, it is a star vehicle for Carrey itself, but there's not really a whole lot of other interesting things happening when the Grinch is not on screen. I mean, if Ron Howard was able to find a balance between Carrey's performance and the actual story itself, then I think this could have been a really, really good movie. Instead, I just think it's just a fun movie. It's an entertaining movie that I still get a lot of laughs with. Jim Carrey is still a lot of fun. Production design of this movie looks fantastic. Ron Howard's direction is really, really good too, and he has a lot of really fun visual cues. Particularly this one scene where the Grinch is sliding down a hill with Cindy Lou, which makes for a really cool visual. And if it was done in 3D, it would have looked really, really cool. So like this movie does have a lot of good moments to it. But take away Jim Carrey, this movie would be forgettable. That's just my opinion to itself. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion, to be honest with you. So yeah. With all that being said, I'm gonna give How the Grinch Stole Christmas I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It's a fun, crisp movie. I like it. Jim Carrey steals the show. If this movie did not have Jim Carrey, it wouldn't be half as good as it is. And that's just my opinion. So yeah, those are my thoughts on How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.